Letter to Adolf Hitler. This is Mahatma Gandhi's letter to Adolf Hitler during the Second World War. Gandhi wrote two letters to Hitler requesting him to stop the war. But these letters were not delivered to Hitler because the British government was not interested in those letters and they prevented its delivery. They intercepted. It is a strong plea to stop war. In this letter, we see a strong plea to stop the war. Such was the December 24, 1940. Dear friend. So this is the second letter to Hitler. Gandhi addresses Hitler as dear friend. That I address you as a friend is no formality. I own no force. At the outset, Mahatma Gandhi makes it clear that he addresses Hitler as a friend, not as a formality, not as a part of formality. Gandhi says that he addressed Hitler as a friend because he has no force, he has no enemy. Mahatma Gandhi says that he does not consider anyone as his enemy. That's why he addressed Hitler as a friend. My business in life has been for the past 33 years to enlist the friendship of the whole of humanity by befriending mankind, irrespective of race, color, or creed. Gandhi says that he has been trying for 33 years to enlist the friendship of the whole humanity, the entire mankind. He considers all human beings friends, as his friends, irrespective of race, color, or creed. Whatever be their religion, whatever be their color, whatever be their race, all are his friends. He considers everyone as his friend. He has no enemy. He doesn't consider anyone as his foe, enemy. I hope you will have the time and desire to know how a good portion of humanity who view living under the influence of the doctrine of universal friendship view your action. Gandhi says, I hope you will have the time and desire to know how people how people who believe in universal friendship view your action. view your acts. How your acts will be viewed by the people who believe in universal friendship, like Gandhi. The people who believe in universal friendship, how will they take your actions? I hope you will have the time and desire to know. We have no doubt about your bravery or devotion to your fatherland. We have no doubt about your courage or your patriotism, devotion to your fatherland. Nor do we believe that you are the monster described by your opponents, by your enemies. We don't consider you as a monster described by your enemies. Your enemies describe you as a monster, as a devilish creature, as a dangerous monster. Your opponents consider you. But your own writings and pronouncements and those of your friends and admirers leave no room for doubt that many of your acts are monstrous. താങ്കളെ ഒരു രാക്ഷസൻ ആയിട്ടാണ് എതിരാളികൾ കാണുന്നത്. But we don't believe that you are a monster. But your own writings and pronouncements, your own writings and speeches show that many of your acts are monstrous. Many of your acts are monstrous, dangerous, devilish, and unbecoming of human dignity. Not suitable for human dignity. Many of your actions are devilish, unbecoming of human dignity, not suitable for human dignity, below human dignity, degrading human dignity. Even though your enemies describe you as a monster, as a devil, we don't think that you are a monster, even though many of your acts are devilish, monstrous, and unbecoming of human dignity. Especially in the estimation of men like me who believe in universal friendship. Gandhi says that he is a person who believes in universal friendship. Everybody is a friend, irrespective of their religion, color, race, or anything. Such are your humiliation of Czechoslovakia. Such are your humiliation of Czechoslovakia. The rape of Poland and the swallowing of Denmark. You have attacked Czechoslovakia. You have attacked Poland. You have conquered Denmark. Such acts are monstrous. Such acts are monstrous. devilish acts. I am aware that your view of life regards such spoliations as virtuous acts. Virtuous acts means good acts. Good acts. You may be considering such acts like the attack of Czechoslovakia, Poland, and Denmark as good acts. You you may think that these acts are good acts, virtuous acts, such as spoliation. Spoliation means destruction. Destruction. Your destructive activities. You may be considering them as virtuous acts, good acts. But we have been taught from childhood to regard them as acts degrading humanity. But we don't consider them as good acts. We don't consider them as virtuous acts because we have been taught from childhood to regard them as acts regarding degrading humanity. We consider these acts as monstrous, unbecoming of humanity, degrading humanity, not suitable for humanity, mankind. Hence, we cannot possibly wish success to your arms. We cannot wish you success. But ours is a unique position. Unique means different from others. Different from others. Unique, without a comparison. Ours is a unique position. We have a unique position in this, different from the stand of others. We resist British imperialism no less than Nazism. We resist British imperialism no less than Nazism. ബ്രിട്ടീഷ് സാമ്രാജ്യത്വവും നാസിസവും ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ഒരുപോലെയാണ്. വി റെസിസ്റ്റ് ബോത്ത്. If there is a difference, it is in degree. We consider these British imperialism and Nazism as the same. They are the same to us. If there is a difference, it is in degree. 1/5 of the human race has been brought under the British heel, under the British power. 1/5 of the human race has been brought under the British heel, British control, British power by means that will not bear scrutiny. Gandhi says that 1/5 of the human race has been brought under British control by violent means. By violent means. The British government was able to bring 1/5 of the human race under their control by violent means. Our resistance to it does not mean harm to the British people. We don't want to bring any harm to the British people. We don't hate the British people. We hate only their acts. We seek to convert them, not to defeat them on the battlefields. We don't want to defeat the British on the battlefields. but we want to convert them. We want to make them think that keeping a country under slavery is wrong. Conquering another country is wrong. Colonizing another country, colonizing other countries is wrong. We just want to make them change their policies. We want to convert them, but we don't want to defeat them on the battlefield. Ours is an unarmed revolt against the British rule. Our resistance, our struggle against the British rule is an unarmed struggle, unarmed, without using weapons, based on non-violence, based on the principle of non-violence. It is an unarmed revolt without using weapons. But whether we convert them or not, we are determined to make their rule impossible by non-violent non-cooperation. Whether we succeed in converting them or not, we are determined. We are determined to make their rule impossible by non-violent non-cooperation. We will bring about a situation in which they will not be able to continue to rule us. To make their rule impossible by non-violent non-cooperation. We will not cooperate with the British. It is a strategy of non-violent non-cooperation based on ahimsa, based on non-violence. We will not cooperate to the British government in anything. Thus, we will make it impossible for them to continue the rule. It is a method in its nature indefensible. It is indefensible, that it cannot be defended. Cannot be defended. The British will not be able to resist such a movement. It is based on the knowledge that no spoliator can compass his end without a certain degree of cooperation, willing or compulsory of the victim. Without the cooperation of the people, they cannot continue to rule us. No spoliator, no destroyer no dictator can achieve their end without a certain degree of cooperation of the victims, people in these countries. Our rulers may have our land and bodies, but not our souls. They can control our land and our bodies, but not our souls. They can have the former only by complete destruction of every Indian. They will achieve their end only if they destroy all Indians, man, woman, and child. That all may not rise to that degree of heroism, and that a fair amount of frightfulness can bend the back of revolt. It is true, but the argument would be beside the point. For if a fair number of men and women be found in India who would be prepared without any ill will against the spoliators to lay down their lives rather than bend the knee to them, There are many men and women in India who are ready to lay down their lives, who are ready to lay down their lives in their effort to bring freedom, to lay down their lives for India. A fair number of men and women be found in India who would be prepared without any ill will against the spoliators. Everybody may not rise to that degree of heroism, but there will be a fair number of men and women who would be prepared without any ill will against the spoliators, without hating the enemy, without keeping any grudge, any hatred towards the enemy, to lay down their lives rather than bend the knee to them. They would have shown the way to freedom from the tyranny of violence, ready to free the nation from the tyranny of violence. I ask you to believe me when I say that you will find an unexpected number of such men and women. I ask you to believe me when I say that you will find an unexpected number of such men and women in India. Men and women who are ready to sacrifice their lives, to lay down their lives for the freedom of the nation. They have been having that training for the past 20 years. For the past 20 years, I have been giving training to the people how to carry on a non-violent struggle. We have been trying for the past half a century to throw off the British rule. We have been trying for the past half a century to throw off the British rule, to end the British rule. We have been trying for the past half a century. The movement of independence has been never so strong as now. Now this movement for movement of independence is very strong. The most powerful political organization, I mean the Indian National Congress, is trying to achieve this end. The Indian National Congress, the most powerful political organization in India, is trying to achieve this end. We have attained a very fair measure of success through non-violent effort. We have achieved a very fair measure of success. We have attained a measure of success through non-violent effort. We have had some victories. We were groping for the right means to combat the most organized violence in the world, which the British power represents. The British power, the British army represents the most organized violence in the world. We are resisting the most organized violence in the world, which the British power represents, by following this non-violent struggle. We are resisting this power. We were groping for, searching for the right means to fight, combat the most organized violence in the world which the British power represents. You have challenged it. It remains to be seen which is better organized, the German or the British. You have challenged the British. Hitler has challenged the British. It remains to be seen who will win, whether Germany or the British will have ultimate victory. It remains to be seen. We cannot say for now, anything now about the outcome of this war. Who will prove stronger, whether the German or the British? We know what the British heel means for us. We know what the British power means for us and the non-European races of the world. But we would never wish to end the British rule with German aid. We don't want the help of the Germans to defeat the British. To drive away the British, we don't want the German aid. We have found in non-violence a force which, if organized, can without doubt match itself against a combination of all the most violent forces in the world. So non-violent violence is our weapon. Non-violence is our weapon. It is a very strong weapon. We don't want the help of German to drive away the British. This weapon, non-violence, this force, if organized, can without doubt match against a combination of all the most violent forces in the world. However powerful the enemy is, our non-violent struggle is enough to beat them. It is a force, non-violence. Non-violence is a force which matches against a combination of all the most violent forces. Even if all the violent forces in the world come together, we can defeat them by this non-violence. In non-violent technique, as I have said, there is no such thing as defeat. In non-violent struggle, there is no such thing as defeat. It is all do or die without killing or hurting. Do or die without killing or hurting. We don't hurt anyone. We don't want to kill anyone. There is no such thing as defeat. ആരും പരാജയപ്പെടുന്നില്ല എന്നാണ് ഈ അഹിംസയിലൂന്നിയിട്ടുള്ള ഈ സ്ട്രഗിൾ. No one is killed, no one is hurt. Nobody is defeated. Nobody wins. It can be used practically without money and obviously without the aid of science of destruction, which you have brought to such perfection. We don't need any weapons of destruction to carry on this non-violent struggle, resistance. No money is needed. No weapons are needed. It can be used practically without money and obviously without the aid of science of destruction, which you have brought to such perfection. So you have very destructive weapons, but to carry on a non-violent resistance, no such weapons are needed, no money is needed. It is a marvel to me that you do not see that it is nobody's monopoly. It is a marvel to me, it is a surprise to me. It is a surprise to me that you don't see that it is nobody's monopoly. It is not the monopoly of anyone to gather, to collect, to amass weapons. ആയുധങ്ങൾ ആരുടെയും കുത്തകയല്ല. ആർക്കും ഇങ്ങനെ ആയുധങ്ങൾ കൂട്ടിവെച്ച് മറ്റുള്ളവരെ നശിപ്പിക്കാൻ ശ്രമിക്കാം എന്നാണ്. It is not the monopoly of anyone. If not the British, some other power will certainly improve upon your method and beat you with your own weapon. Some other enemy. If the British are not able to defeat you, some other army, some other nation may prove more, may prove stronger than you, more powerful than you. Some other nation may collect more destructive weapons and defeat you. Some other power will certainly improve upon your method and beat you with your own weapons. You are leaving no legacy to your people of which they would feel proud. Legacy means something inherited. പാരമ്പര്യമായിട്ട് കിട്ടുന്ന എന്തെങ്കിലുമാണ് ഈ ലെഗസി എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. സംതിങ് ഇൻഹെറിറ്റഡ്. So you are not leaving anything to your people to feel proud of you. താങ്കളുടെ ജനതയ്ക്ക് താങ്കളെക്കുറിച്ച് ഓർത്ത് അഭിമാനിക്കാനുള്ള ഒന്നും താങ്കൾ സൃഷ്ടിക്കുന്നില്ല എന്നാണ്. You are leaving no legacy to your people of which they would feel proud. They cannot take pride in a recital of cruel deed, however skillfully planned. Nobody will sing about the cruel activities you are involved. Your people cannot take pride in singing about your violent activities. I therefore appeal to you in the name of humanity to stop the war. This is my earnest request. I appeal to you in the name of humanity, in the name of the entire mankind. I appeal to you to stop the war. You will lose nothing by referring all the matters of dispute between you and Great Britain to an international tribunal of your joint choice. I recommend that you leave all matters of dispute to an international tribunal of your joint choice. To refer all the matters of dispute, to refer all the matters of dispute to an international tribunal. എന്ത് പ്രശ്നങ്ങളുണ്ടെങ്കിലും അത് എല്ലാം ഒരു ഇന്റർനാഷണൽ ട്രിബ്യൂണലിന് വിടുക, യുദ്ധം നിർത്തുക. Refer all the matters of dispute between you and Great Britain to an international tribunal. ജർമ്മനിയും ബ്രിട്ടനും തമ്മിൽ ഉള്ള പ്രശ്നങ്ങൾ ഒരു ഇന്റർനാഷണൽ ട്രിബ്യൂണലിന് വിടുക. യുദ്ധം അവസാനിപ്പിക്കുക എന്നാണ്. If you attain success in the war, it will not prove that you were in the right. Even if you win the war, even if you win the war, it does not prove that you are right. You are in the right. It will only prove that your power of destruction was greater. If you win this war, it does not prove that you are right. It only proves that you have more destructive weapons. Your power of destruction was greater. Whereas an award by an impartial tribunal will show, as far as it is humanly possible, which party was in the right. If a judgment, if a verdict comes from an international tribunal, it will be better. It will show who is right. You know that not long ago I made an appeal to every Briton to accept my method of non-violent resistance. I have made such a request, such an appeal to the British people long ago, to asking them to accept my method of non-violent resistance. ഇതേപോലെ ഒരു അഭ്യർത്ഥന കുറച്ചു കാലം മുമ്പ് ബ്രിട്ടീഷ് ജനതയോടും ഞാൻ നടത്തിയിരുന്നു എന്നാണ്. I have made a similar appeal to the British people to ask my method of non-violent resistance. ഈ അഹിംസാ സമരം സ്വീകരിക്കണം എന്ന്. I did it because the British know me as a friend, though a rebel. Because the British people consider me as a friend. Even though I am a rebel, they consider me as a friend. I am a stranger to you and your people. I have not the courage to make you the appeal I made to every Briton. The British people consider me as a friend, but I am a stranger to you and your people. I don't have the courage to make a similar appeal to you as I made to every Briton. Not that it would not apply to you with the same force as to the British, but my present proposal is much simple because much more practical and familiar. This proposal to refer all the matters of dispute to an international tribunal is much more practical, much simple. During this season, when the hearts of peoples of Europe yearn for peace, the people of Europe long for peace. They desire for peace. They strongly want peace. We have suspended even our own peaceful struggle. After the breakout of this world war, we have suspended our own struggle. Is it too much to ask you to make an effort for peace during a time which may mean nothing to you personally, but which must mean much to the millions of Europeans whose dumb cry for peace I hear, for my ears are attended to hearing the dumb millions? If you listen to my appeal, it means much to the millions of Europe. If you comply with this, if you listen to my appeal. It means much to the millions of Europeans whose dumb cry for peace. They are yearning for peace. They long for peace. For my ears are attended to hearing the dumb millions. It's a dumb cry. Dumb. I hear the dumb cry for peace. For my ears are attended to hearing the dumb millions. I always listen to the people who are not able to raise their voice. So it will mean much to the people of Europe who earn so ardently for peace. Even though it does not mean much to you personally, it means much to the millions of Europeans whose dumb cry I hear. I had intended to address a joint appeal to you and Senior Mussolini, whom I had the privilege of meeting when I was in Rome during my visit to England as a delegate to the Round Table Conference. Mussolini was the ruler of Italy. The ruler of Italy. So Gandhi says that he had intended to address a joint appeal to you and Mussolini. Gandhi wanted to make a joint appeal to Hitler and Mussolini to stop the war, whom I had the privilege of meeting when I was in Rome during my visit to England. I had once met Mussolini when I during my visit to England as a delegate to the Round Table Conference. I had the privilege of meeting Mussolini when I was in Rome during my visit to England as a delegate to the Round Table Conference. I hope that he will take this as address to him also with the necessary changes. I hope that Mussolini will consider this letter as addressed to him as well as Hitler. ഹിറ്റ്ലർക്കാണ് ഇത് എഴുതിയതെങ്കിലും ഇത് മുസോളിനിക്ക് കൂടിയുള്ള ഒരു അഭ്യർത്ഥനയാണ്. ആ രീതിയിൽ അദ്ദേഹം അത് എടുക്കുമെന്ന് പ്രതീക്ഷിക്കുന്നു. I hope that he will take this as addressed to him also with the necessary changes.